Bigfoot cooking.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bigfoot Cooking. Today's menu, Squatch's Salmon Patties, or salmon cakes, or salmon splats, or if you're fancy, salmon croquets, or croquettes. I don't know. It's a fancy long name, but they're all the same thing. They're basically salmon patties. Now what we're doing to make this, we're gonna make it two different ways. We're gonna be making it from the can, that way you can see what's hidden inside of here, as well as making it with fresh salmon. Now, let me show you what we're after. Oh yes, does that not look good right there? That, my friends, is the goal we're after. Some nice crusty salmon patties with a little side of orange rice. Yes, orange rice. We're gonna be making our rice with a little bit of orange juice, gives it that citrusy flavor. So to start out with, time for the menu. I'm gonna send you to the grocery store. To start out with, the main event is of course the salmon. We're gonna need either a can of salmon or about a pound of salmon. Can't even talk today. We're gonna need 1 egg, half a cup of panko. Now this is a very customizable menu. So depending on what you wanna do, you may use panko, saltine crackers, flour, cornmeal if you're trying to go gluten-free. But for me, I'm using a half a cup of panko plus a little bit for dusting the patties after we're done, and a little Worcestershire sauce. We're gonna need a half an onion, 2 cloves of garlic, a carrot, 2 stalks of celery. I'm running out of room here. Go away. We're gonna need a teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning, because Old Bay is just amazing with any kind of seafood, fish, crab, whatever. Salt, pepper, and a little bit of olive oil to cook it in. And then for the rice is pretty simple. You're just gonna need a cup of ready to go rice, not Minute Maid, not instant, not any of that stuff, but real rice. A cup of rice, cup of water, cup of orange juice, and a big old pat of butter. So that way the rice isn't sticky. Unless you're going for sticky, then eliminate the butter. So now that we've got the menu down and the ingredients down, let's get to some cooking. Now for the vegetables part, we're gonna go ahead and pre-cook those, because what you wanna do is have this cooked, ready to go, and cooled down so that we mix it back in with the salmon. We don't kind of pre-cook it, and it keeps everything ready. So we're gonna start by chopping up our celery. We're gonna do a rough chop to these to kind of get them down into bigger pieces. And then we're gonna come back and cut them a whole lot smaller. That way you don't have any big hunks of celery while you eat this. And into the pool. And for the carrots, we're gonna take our peeler and come down and press hard from the top, and we're gonna make really thin sheets of carrots. Take a look at how this works. You see how it's coming down and we're just getting super thin carrots. This makes them cook up quick, makes them softer, and helps release all the little bit of flavor they got into the mix. As we're trimming these carrots down, like you see, we're getting them into small bite-sized pieces. That way, as you're making your patties, cakes, splats, croquets, you're not getting just a one big face full of carrot. Instead, you're getting a little bit of that taste along with the onion, the celery, and all of it. And now the carrots go in, and it's time to prepare the onion. Ready, set, chop. Once they're in half, trim the top off, peel off that first layer of skin so that way it's nothing but fresh onion below. A little too much on the top, we'll get rid of this guy. Make your cuts down through here so that way they go into nice bite-sized pieces. And then slice down. And now we smash the garlic and peel. And the garlic goes into the press because, well, there are some recipes that call for whole big old hunks of garlic, but not this one. Now we've got our good old cast iron. Oh, the myth and the lore of cast iron cooking. But I've got the cast iron on, just getting a little smoke off of it, got a little bit of oil in there. We're gonna add all these guys to help soften them up. Ooh, listen to the sizzle. We're gonna go ahead and Squish our garlic out in one big We're gonna cook this down until it's soft and translucent, I believe is the word you're looking for, and then we'll pull it off so it can cool. Just keeping everybody moving so nothing sticks to the bottom, because we sure enough don't want burnt veggies in this thing. Talk about messing up the flavor of the salmon. And in case y'all hadn't noticed, there's a whole lot more veggies than what you would think. That's because I'm doing a double batch since we've got both the fresh and the canned happening. We're about halfway there now. See how the onions are starting to get just a tinge of yellow? We're gonna go ahead and season them with our Old Bay, our pepper, and our Worcestershire. You know, the hard to pronounce word. That way this cooks all in there. We're not doing the salt yet. And the only reason is because since I've got both fresh and canned, the canned has quite a bit of salt in it, and I don't want to over salt this. Yes, indeed. Look at there. It's all cooked down. We're getting nice. The onions are tender and soft. I can push right through them. So now that that's done, because it's a cast iron pan, it's also going to hold some heat. So we're going to cut the eye off, and I'm going to set this to the back. Let it think about what it's done for a little while, start to cool off, finish cooking in the pan, and we're gonna work on the rice. Gotta keep stirring on these a little bit, don't want them to burn. Now we're gonna take our boiling hot water pot. Oh, there ain't no water in it. We're gonna add a cup of water. I know, talented stuff there. We're gonna let the water come to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna drop in the orange juice, bring it back up to heat. Then we'll put in the rice and the butter and stir it up for a moment and just let it pause and reflect on its life. Look at that. We got the boil. Let's add our pat of butter. Ooh, let's move our hands real quick because that's a hot pat of butter. It's gonna start melting down. We're gonna add our second cup of orange juice. Careful now, she's getting spicy. We're gonna let that come back up to temperature. Once we do, we'll add the rice. Ha! Look at there, heat bubbles. Everything's melted, in goes the rice. Careful. What we're gonna do, we're gonna give that a stir. Make sure the butter and the rice all make contact so we don't have the sticky. There we go. We're gonna cut this eye off. We're gonna put the lid on it. I'm gonna move it to the back eye, which as you can see is a lot smaller. We're gonna bring it down pretty daggum low. And we're gonna leave this guy. Do not take the lid off, don't touch it, don't check on it. 15 minutes, boom, boom, boom. 15 minutes, and then, oh, perfect rice. So while our rice is cooking and our veggies are cooling, we're gonna work on the salmon. I'm gonna start with the fresh, because the fresh is more fun. We've got this guy, which has been deboned and deskinned. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna set it here on the cutting board, and we are just gonna go bananas. We're gonna chop, 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 cut, mince, mince, mince. You could probably put this in a food processor, but I'm afraid you'll have a paste if you do. Not what you want. You still want a little bit of texture. So let's start the slicing. We're just gonna cut. There is no right or wrong way. You are just tearing this stuff up. Literally turning it into minced meat. Minced meat? That's a lot of the cartoon stuff. Oh wait, it's time for backup. 2 knives. Cut it from this side. Cut it from this side. All right, now we've got our literally minced meat. We're gonna take this, we're going to transfer it to a bowl and let it sit while I show you what a can of this stuff looks like. Now to open this can of salmon, I'm gonna show y'all an antique. This is called a can opener. I know many of you aren't used to this because it's either pull top or you put it on the thing, round, round, round. But believe it or not, long ago, we had these things that we would put on a can, we would open it, and lo and behold, the stuff would come out. Now, speaking of coming out, if this is interesting to you guys and you're enjoying it, how about a like and subscribe? And if you're feeling really out there, hit the bell icon. That way you can see when I'm doing more of this stuff. I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to get one of those silver play buttons, and the only way to do this is one video at a time. So now that we got the can open, there's a lot of liquid in here. We're gonna drain it off in the sink and dump what's left in here. And now for the question of mystery meat. There it is. Not that attractive, but it is canned salmon. Now, here's the great debate, because if you look, you have skin, you have bone, you have the whole fish in here. Here's the tailbone. Let me dig this out so you guys can see it. Now, when it's canned like this stuff is actually brittle to the touch. So it's not like eating the bones will hurt you, but some people pull the skin off, some people pull the bones out. In this case, we're making it with the whole thing because it is well cooked and it's a little more, I don't know, maybe you get more calcium out of the bones. I'm not sure, but we're gonna use it just like it sits. So here we have our two different forms of salmon, cooked and canned, fresh and raw. What we're gonna do, we're gonna take an egg, crack into each one of them, and that actually acts as like a binder. It helps hold this whole patty together. Like I said, two separate things. That's why our recipe's doubled. We're gonna put about half of this in this one, half of this in this one. What that does is it absorbs it, helps it kind of set and harden up a little bit. And the reason why we didn't double our salt, canned actually already has a fair amount of salt in it, but the fresh does not. So the fresh, the salt helps bring out the flavor just that little bit more. You gotta have salt. And now for our veggies. We're just gonna divide these guys in half. Look how well they turned out. And we're gonna put half of them in here and the other half in here. Look at there, like Parents' Day at the school. Everybody's in. Now we gotta clean up our pan a little bit and get it ready to fry these guys up. Well, maybe not fry them and clean them yet. Perhaps we should mix all this goodness up. Now the question is to do it by fork, by machine, or by hand. That way you get it all mixed and good. You kind of gives you a bite on reality. Mixing it by hand, you know when everything is coated and touched and mixed. And I mean, your hands are washable, believe it or not. Just make sure you wash them before you start, not after, I don't know, building a transmission or something. Done with bowl one, now to bowl two. All right, now that we have them both mixed, the fresh actually is got a little more moisture to it than the canned. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a little more panko to it, because if it's too wet, it's not gonna fry up right. And if it's too dry, it's just gonna crumble. But I think this little bit more will be just what I need. All right, now that we got them both mixed, what you're looking for is a texture to where you can squeeze out a patty. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna let these guys sit here, let the panko and everything kind of join up and marry together and set a little bit. So I'm gonna cover these bowls, give them about 15 minutes or so to just get gooey and just be ready for the patty. And we're just gonna relax. We'll be right back. All right, we've given these guys time to get happy and friendly and get to know each other before they go to their lovely warm summer home. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab us up about a handful. Depending on how picky you are, you may wanna, measure them and what have you. But again, this is homemade. What do you do with homemade? You make it at home. You get your patty. We're gonna go ahead, and again, this is the can. We're gonna do the can first. We're gonna go ahead, get our patties put together, so that way we can do everything in big steps. Now we've got our patties made, we're gonna set them in a little panko. The reason for this is when we fry it up, this will help give it a bit more of a crust. Got our frying pan warming up, a little bit of olive oil. Like I said, we're not trying to deep fry it, but I do want enough to make sure the pan is well lubricated and we don't have any problems sticking. And now time for victim number one. Ooh, got that sizzle. It's a beautiful thing. Hey, he looks lonely. Come on, we got friends. We'll put you all in here. Now you don't want to try to manipulate these guys too much. Put them in there, leave them alone. You play with them too much and they break apart. Give them just a little bit of love to the bottom of the pan and give it, let's just say 2.5 minutes. Now that we've had a few minutes of simmering, let's see how we look on the other side. Careful to flip and not to burn. Whew. Ho-ho! Is that not pretty? That is an absolute thing of beauty. Now the nice thing about the canned ones, they're already pre-cooked. Since we cooked the veggies first and the salmon was canned, I mean, you could have eaten it raw, like straight out of the mixing bowl if you wanted. But the whole point of cooking it is just to add that you gotta have a mouthfeel to it. You don't want to eat just mush. Well, I guess you could have had the raw egg if you like that. But that's why we're frying it. Put that golden crust on it, golden crisp crust, and a little bit of flair. Yes, indeed, it is time. These guys are sliding out to make way for their big brothers, the fresh ones. So that was the cooking of the canned. Now, let's do the fresh. You're gonna do these slightly different because this is actually raw meat. Well, raw fish. Is fish meat or meat fish? I don't know. Either way, same concept here. You're gonna take where you mash them out into patties. We're gonna set them out, I'm gonna panko them, and then we're gonna slide them into the fry. But when we do the fry, we're gonna do it slightly different. And just like before, we'll pick them up, we'll put them in the panko, get a good, sticky, easily friable crust on them, and we'll set them on the cutting board. Come on out, buddy. You gotta be careful with them because they're a little bit fragile. Now I'm only gonna do one of these just to show you what we're after. We got a good thick coating of oil. I'm gonna set this guy on here. And what you're looking for is where you've got the pink on the side. As it cooks, it's gonna change color as it comes up. So we're just gonna let this guy rest right here and do its thing. Now, if you look, you can see the white color is coming up about 1/3 of the way through. We're gonna take it and hopefully flip it in one piece. Flip it away from you so you don't get splattered. We'll let it sit here and simmer for a bit and cook on the other side. I think we're ready. We have the other side cooked up. We'll go ahead and flip it just to show you here. Ooh, hot, 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 hot. Look at there. Pretty, pretty, pretty. We're gonna take this guy off and put the other guys into the heated hot tub. Heck yeah. Hot tub adventures for everybody. Y'all be good. I'll be right back. And there you have it. Just that quick. We've made canned salmon and fresh salmon. So let's go ahead. Let's see how our rice did. Because during the process of making it, our 15 minutes came up. I haven't taken the lid off yet. That's the biggest thing when you're making rice. Don't peek. It lets all the steam out. So let's see how our orange rice did. Smells good. Looks good. It has absorbed all the water out of the bottom and left alone. Look at there. It's not sticky. It's not gummy. Just the way it should be. We're going to take one of our canned. I'm really trying to be optimistic with the canned. I grew up on canned salmon, but you know, growing up, you learn what the real stuff tastes like, and it changes your perception. So as you can see, there's a little bit of difference even in the color. This one's a little darker, this one's a little pinker. So we're going to start out our taste test with the canned. Okay. Canned, which is staying together pretty good. It smells good. Okay, not as bad as I was worried about it being. Still canned, still doesn't have a real pop to the salmon flavor, but it's what I remember as a kid. Now, this is probably gonna ruin me, but let's try the really good stuff. Oh, and getting some of that rice in there, game changer. The orange in the rice gives it a little bit of citrus, really good stuff. Oh yeah. Now that is much better. Fresh salmon makes a world of difference. It's more alive, it's vibrant. You got a better taste on your tongue. Oh man, I'm starting to do the face. I gotta go. Oh, and of course you do realize Bigfoot is real. All right, now that we got our carrots trimmed up nice and skinny thin, we're gonna take the knife, we're gonna sit here and shrink these up. Again, you want these bite-sized because once they mix into the whole thing, you don't want a big old hunk of carrot to go along with all the flavor of the salmon. So we're just gonna slice these guys up.